Hey everybody, welcome back to Football Talk with Vinny. In today's video, we're going to go over the Week 13 power rankings. So let's quickly get right into it, starting with some of the bottom teams. We'll start it off with number 32, with the Detroit Lions. They did get their first win. I'm still going to rank them as last. They're going to be closely followed by the Texans, who just lost 31-0 to the Colts, the Jags, who lost big, and the Jets, who also lost big. It's really those four teams, and now that Detroit got a win and has a tie, they're all trying to fight for the number one overall pick at this point. At 28, the Bears, I've had them here for 2-3 weeks in a row now. Again, they're just a really bad football team. I don't think if Justin Fields comes back, it's going to change anything. 27, I have the Giants dropping down 5 spots. Really, this has more so to do with injuries than anything else. Again, you got Daniel Jones out. I think they probably would have beaten Miami had Daniel Jones played. Mike Glennon did not play very well. But again, this is kind of the season for the Giants. A lot of guys have been hurt. It's hard to have consistency, especially in the offensive end when you have so many injuries. 26, Atlanta, they're one of the worst teams in terms of scoring differential. Again, they have a couple of victories against some of the really bottom teams, but against some good to average teams, they usually get blown out. 25 is the Panthers. Again, they're still technically in the wild card race, but at this point, they're going to have to win most of their last remaining games, although I think it's 5 left. They're going to have to win most of them in order to just try to push for the playoffs. And number 24, the Saints. Again, this is kind of like the Giants in terms of they're just dealing with a lot of injuries. A lot of guys are missing. Kamara hasn't played for, I think it's 3 or 4 straight games now. Again, the quarterback went down, and Taysom Hill, he got his first start on Thursday night, did not look great. And also, he got banged up with his finger. Kind of like the Giants in the sense of injuries kind of derailed their season. The Miami Dolphins at 23, obviously they're on a 5-game win streak, so, obviously they've rebounded from starting so terribly, but unfortunately because they're in the AFC, even with the 5 straight wins, it's going to be very difficult to get into the playoffs because you have so many teams still ahead of you, and they're all pretty good football teams. 22, the Eagles. I actually have them dropping down a spot, even though they beat the Jets, and this more so has to do with the teams that I thought that were below them. They had better victories, so I wanted to move them up, and the team obviously is next, which is the Seattle Seahawks. Again, beating a very good San Francisco 49ers team is a very big victory for Seattle in terms of it does keep their playoff hopes alive. You talk about the NFC, where I believe the 7th seed right now is Washington at 6-6. So Seattle does have a chance to win some of these last couple games. They're going to be some tough games, but if they can win a couple of them, maybe they can sneak in. Number 20 is Denver, down 4 spots. Again, they played okay defensively, kind of shutting down the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday night, but their offense couldn't get anything going. They had pick 6. So just a bad game offensively for the Denver Broncos, but defensively they're still playing well. Number 19, down 2 spots, is the Raiders. They had a very bad loss too to the Washington football team at home, and obviously that was an opportunity to get a win against a winnable team for sure. That had you won that game, I believe they would have been probably in the playoffs at this point record-wise. 18, up 6 spots now, the Washington football team. Them, like Miami, is on a 4 or 5 game win streak. And obviously with this win streak, it does catapult them into the playoffs. They are the 7th seed as of right now. So this win streak has come at a good time for them. Obviously unfortunate for the Chase Young injury a couple weeks back, because you would have loved to have Chase Young on that defensive line if you were to make it into the playoffs again. Down 3 spots, the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously you lost to the worst team in the league on another 1-possession game. That's kind of like Minnesota's MO this season. Almost all their games have been decided by 1 possession or less. But nonetheless, extremely disappointing. If you are Minnesota, you would have thought they would have been able to manhandle the Detroit Lions and win that game comfortably. Number 16, I'm going to have as the Cleveland Browns. Although they had a bye week, obviously they moved up 2 spots, mainly because the Raiders and Denver Broncos lost. So I think the week prior I had those teams both ranked above. But with bad losses for both of those teams, I had to move Cleveland up. During this bye week, hopefully it did good for Baker Mayfield. It was able to get him healthier. You can clearly tell over the last couple weeks he was not healthy. Number 15, the Steelers. Have been very hard on the Steelers. They still have a negative scoring differential, but you did get a big victory against the Baltimore Ravens, who were currently at the time the number 1 seed in the AFC. Now, obviously, that game was right down to the wire. Baltimore decided to go for 2 at the very end of the game to get a victory instead of kicking the extra point going in overtime. But again, John Harbaugh made that decision. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense made a big play. Number 14, down a spot, is the 49ers. Obviously not a great game against the Seattle Seahawks. It's a game that you probably could have won, and had you won that game, you would give yourself some separation between the teams that are trying to catch you for the wild card. Number 13, up 2 spots, I'm going to have the Los Angeles Chargers. Didn't want to put them up too many spots. Again, I think the game just kind of got away from Cincinnati early. Again, you know me on this channel, I don't like to overreact to one specific game, whether it's a win or a loss. So I did move them up. Number 12, the Baltimore Ravens. I have them moving down really only one spot. If you've seen this channel a couple times, you know that even though the Ravens were the 1 seed last week, I had them ranked 11. Again, the reason behind it is they're not that great of a football team. They asked Lamar Jackson to do absolutely everything. Their offense is really struggling. If you look at the rush yards from the running backs that are not named Lamar Jackson, because he's a quarterback, they're not great. It's more so to deal with the fact that the teams are scared that Lamar is going to keep the ball on the option routes. So you need more than just the edge defender to stop Lamar Jackson because he's way too quick for the edge defender. So now you have to really have multiple guys try to contain Lamar Jackson, which opens up the running lanes for the running backs. So again, I just don't think as a team, their defense, obviously, I think pass defense is 32nd in the league. So defensively, they're just not great. You ask Lamar to do everything. So to me, I just don't think that they can hold that number 1 seed. I think they're going to lose a couple of these games down the stretch against some good football teams. A lot of divisional games too, which their division may be arguably the best in the league. At number 11, I'm going to have the Cincinnati Bengals. They are going to be down 2 spots after the loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. I think they played well to battle back and kind of put themselves in a position to maybe, make a comeback after being down. It was like 22-0. But again, you were not able to win the football game. You obviously started very bad. If you did start bad, you might have been able to win. So definitely wanted to drop them a little bit. But again, not too much. Football is a crazy game. Sometimes blowouts happen. Again, you don't want to overreact. Because again, I can give you multiple games this season where a good football team got blown out and then were very good the next week. At number 10, I'm going to have the Indianapolis Colts. They are playing so well right now. Obviously, playing a bad Houston Texans team. They did what they're supposed to do, smashed them 31-0. And after a really bad start to the season where I think they were 0-3 or maybe 0-4, they've really rebounded. And again, they've given themselves a shot now to make the playoffs and probably going to. And I think they're going to be a very scary team come playoff time because they can run the ball with any team in the league. Their offensive line is one of the best in the league. Their defense is pretty solid. And again, the quarterback is okay. He's not really losing them ball games, and he can make a couple plays when they need to be made. Number 9, my Dallas Cowboys. If you know the channel, I'm kind of harsh on my team. I think the reason why I'm so harsh on the team is because obviously if you have Super Bowl aspirations, you have to compare yourself to the Super Bowl teams and the teams that, look dominant. And to me, when I look at the Dallas Cowboys, defensively, we're not great. We're just okay. We can get some pass rush, especially now that we have some of our guys back healthy. And the back end, they get turnovers, but it's like if they don't get a turnover, they're giving up a big play. And that goes for everyone, including Trevon Diggs. Again, in the beginning of the season, he was the Defensive Player of the Year leader. He had so many interceptions. But again, he was still giving up some plays, but not as many as he's currently giving up over the last 4 or 5 weeks. And again, that's not a knock on him. He's still the best secondary player on our team, and he is still a very good player. But again, it's the consistency from the back end of the defense that just we allow way too many points from some teams. On Thanksgiving game, we allowed the Raiders to put up 33 points on us. And even if you look at this Thursday game against the Saints, obviously they're playing with a guy who, A, is not a great quarterback to begin with, but also B, he hurt his finger. And sure, we played a good defensive game against a team like that we're without Alvin Kamara as well. But it seems like when we go up against good offenses, it's tough to really get some stops. So again, when you compare that to the actual elite teams, it's kind of why I have the Dallas Cowboys ranked at 9. The number 8 team, I have Tennessee. Again, this just has to do with the injuries. Again, it seems like just they can't catch a break. They're winning a bunch of games, but you got all of their offensive skill position players out, right? You got Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, and then obviously Derrick Henry out. So again, that's so many injuries. Just the fact that they're continuing to win is a shocker. Obviously now they're on a 2-game losing streak, which is why I've dropped them in the power rankings. But again, if you're the Tennessee Titans, you really hope to get Julio Jones back within a week or so, and then you really hope that A.J. Brown can return this upcoming week. And again, really the main point will be coming down the stretch, will Derrick Henry be able to come back? Will he come back week 17 or 18, maybe a week or two before the postseason? Because if you can get Derrick Henry back in that offense and they'll be healthy come postseason time, I still think this is the most dangerous team in the AFC. Number 7, the Rams, just moving up one spot. You got a big win. Again, it's against a bad team in Jacksonville. But, again, you're back to winning. You had a blowout victory, so it gives the team some confidence moving forward. Odell Beckham looks good. Obviously, if you saw that touchdown celebration, I thought it was fucking genius. It's the whole self-revive thing, so he was reviving his career just in case you watched it and you didn't understand what it was supposed to be. And I think as the weeks go on, Odell Beckham will be more and more involved in that offense, and you'll start to see the Odell Beckham of the past. Number 6 is the Buffalo Bills. We're going to drop them one spot. Again, I'm not going to drop them too much. Lost to a top 5-ish team in the New England Patriots. Obviously, the game conditions were really bad, and they kind of favored New England, right? In a windy game like that, it favors the team that can run the ball and that's more physical in the trenches. If they were to play again in a maybe either a dome or a warmer weather game, or maybe just a game with not as much wind, they'd probably end up winning that game because the Patriots offense really couldn't do much. They did run the ball, but if you look at the second half, they didn't really move the ball that well. I think the Patriots were 0 for 8 on their last 8 third down attempts, so they were not able to get first downs and chew the clock. It really was just the fact that Buffalo was not able to move the football. And when they did move the football, they either got stopped in the red zone and they had to try to settle for a field goal, which obviously was no good because of the wind, or obviously that last possession they had to go for it and just didn't get us and just got to stop. Number 5, we're gonna have is the Kansas City Chiefs. They just keep moving up the power rankings now. Obviously, this is 5 straight wins. They're as hot as any team in football, and they now have a legit shot at the number 1 seed, which I don't think anyone would have thought that 5 weeks ago. But the way the NFL is playing out, there's not a really dominant team. And if you're Kansas City, you have a chance now. Your defense is playing much better than they were the first part of the season. And the offense, although it's not playing good, I think a lot of people have more faith that the offense will come back, and eventually that won't be a problem. And then the top 4 teams really didn't change. I'm still going to have the Bucs at number 4. You got to win against Atlanta, but not enough really to maybe move you up a couple spots. Number 3 is the New England Patriots. I had them at 3 before last week. And again, they got a big victory against the Buffalo Bills. So really no need to move them there. I didn't want to move them ahead of the other 2 teams because I think those teams are probably better teams. Obviously at number 2, we're going to have the Arizona Cardinals. They just keep winning. Obviously Kyler Murray's back, so that's going to be very dangerous as well. And the only reason why I don't have the Cards at number 1 is because A, they lost to the team at number 1, and also I just think that come playoff time, this is the scariest team in the entire NFL. And number 1 is the Green Bay Packers. Again, to me, their defense is playing as a top 10, fringe top 5 defense. You already know you have an MVP caliber quarterback. And it doesn't turn the ball over and makes big play after big play after big play. When you get into a playoff game, I really can't think of anybody who scares me more than Green Bay. You know, you're playing a quarterback who, it doesn't matter if he's playing in Lambeau in a cold weather, he puts up 40 points all the time, or 30 plus all the time. You got a defense that's able to make stop after stop after stop, and we've seen it against good offenses as well. I think the Cardinals might be second in terms of the most scariest, but the Green Bay Packers probably scare me more than any other team in the league at this point. So that's going to be the power rankings for Week 13. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to obviously watching Week 14 games and updating you guys on the power rankings as well. Thank you guys so much. Have a good one. Bye.